2023 Ironman 70.3 Texas. We are going to talk about some of the athlete guide and some of the athlete experience and course insights for everyone this year at this year's edition 2023. First thing up is the event schedule. Things kick off on Friday, March 31st at 2 p.m. That's when the athlete check-in starts on Friday. It lasts until 7. Same with the Ironman Village and the store. Briefings are at 3 and 5 p.m. Location is the West Lot for all of those. And on Saturday, things do kick off at 8:30 with the Iron Kids Fun Run registration. 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. athlete check-in exists on Saturday, mandatory for that day if you did not do it on Friday. The Village is open 9 to 4, official store 9 to 4, Kids Fun Run is at 10 a.m. Mandatory bike check-in and timing chip pickups, that's a mouthful, are at 10 to 5 right there. And you have 3 athlete briefings from noon, 1 and 2 p.m. all located in that West Lot. Make sure you are arriving there and checking in your bike on that Saturday before the race. If you do not, you will not be able to race. There is no check-in the day of the race unless you get special exemptions from the organization, which come few and far between these days. Race day, Sunday, transition opens 5 a.m., closes at 7 a.m. Race start is same time, and the Iron Village is open 8 to 3, so while you're racing, everybody can shop around and check out the expo one last time. The information tent is also open 8 to 3 right there, and the post-race food tent is open 10 to 5. Bike and gear checkout is listed to start at 2 p.m. and last until 6 p.m. I do not know if they're going to, if you are a faster finisher, if you will be able to get your bike and check out. They're usually pretty good about it if you're all set and done, but that's the official start time for the bike checkout right there. Award ceremony for the World Championship slots will kick off at 4 p.m. I would just schedule to be there if you are planning to attend that. Probably 20 minutes beforehand because you never know if they want to get started a little bit early or not. So with that, let's get back into the athlete guide. Make sure that you do check out the Ironman Texas 70.3 2023 athlete guide. It is very useful information. I'm going to skip over a couple of key things here, so make sure you do check it out. There is some advertisements talking about the race director here. You can also see the event schedule on page 4, which we just started talking about right there. Again, Saturday, mandatory bike check-in and timing chip pickup at 10 to 5 p.m. Speaking of athlete check-in, page 5 on the athlete guide. Friday, 31st, 2 to 7. Saturday, April 1st, from 9 to 4. If you go up here, it is also saying something different, 10 to 5. So again, just schedule to be there a little bit earlier and try to get all of this done ahead of time. If you are able to get there on that Friday, make sure you're getting all the essentials ready to go. Things like food, lodging, organizing what you're going to do for the next couple of days for food. If you have family, plan on doing a couple things with them, and just have the whole event organized as much as possible for you personally before you get set to race. Back to athlete check-in. On page 5, it talks about where, what to bring, your photo ID, passport, active.com registration, QR code. Check-in steps are to bring that code. You're going to show your passport and active ID QR code to the volunteers to receive your bib numbers, sign the waivers, pick up your race packet, and your giveaway items. Next up, you are going to have in your packet, so double check. Sometimes they do miss things. They are giving out a lot of them, so it's not uncommon for something to be missing, so just double check before you leave. Your race bib, bike helmet stickers, and your swim cap, and your checkout tickets, along with your athlete wristband, which you will be wearing from the time you do check in until the time you leave the race venue. I highly encourage you to leave that thing on until you're a couple hours down the road returning back home, just in case you have to turn around and get something. Okay? Those athlete wristbands do go a long, long way. Bike stickers. You will receive the bike frame sticker, helmet sticker, bike stem sticker, and 5 gear bag stickers. They are going to be on a piece of paper labeled like this. You'll just peel them off, post them on. Easy peasy stuff. Pre-race info on page 7. It's got the physical address, Ironman Village info, a mandatory athlete briefing. Talks about those. A mandatory bike check-in. Very, very, very important. All bikes must be checked in on Saturday and left overnight. Bikes will not be permitted to enter the transition race morning, so be sure to drop that off ahead of time, okay? You will have access to your bikes beginning at 5 a.m. on race morning, but you will not be allowed to remove your bike from the transition area until the start of the bike portion. So, do not plan on dropping your bike off and then doing some early morning maintenance just to be sure, doing a quick ride down the street. You won't be allowed to do that. So again, they will be trapped in the transition area for a couple of days or a couple of hours here before the race. Personal safety swimming is not permitted at Moody Gardens. Any athlete swimming off the shore of Moody Gardens will be disqualified. So, do not do that. This is one of those rare cases where athletes will be disqualified as stated in the athlete guide. Athletes wishing to train may use this address right through here, Stewart Beach. Beach rules apply, and there is an $8 vehicle cost to enter. So don't just feel like you can show up and run the show. Okay, that's how the locals learn to hate us, so treat this place with a little bit of respect, and it will go a long, long way on race day, I guarantee it. Race day info, race morning procedure, transition opens at 5 a.m. on race morning. Bring your timing chip, wetsuit cap, and other gear you will need to race. You will not be permitted in the transition area without your wristband. Body marking is not needed, but they do say to ensure they are able to be properly identified, athletes must wear their self-marked swim cap on the swim, their stickered helmet on the bike, and their race bib on the run. Aid stations out on the course. There will be an aid station on the bike approximately every 14 miles and approximately every mile on the run. We're going to talk about that run in a minute. Bike. On each aid station, there's going to have water, Gatorade, it's usually the lemon lime formula on the bike. The Morton gels, you're going to have regular and caffeinated, bars, and fruit bananas. On the run, you're going to have pretty much these same things with a couple different things. You're going to have some bars, chips, pretzels, and some ice as the difference. Also, that Gatorade Endurance will be the same, just a different flavor. Something to take note of, if you are sucking down these Morton caffeinated gels early and often into the bike, just be aware that that caffeine does have a bit of a half-life, so the more you consume early on, the later on portion or the later on amount that you do consume on the run will not take as much effect. Okay, it's just the way that caffeine half-life works in your system, so just be smart about how you're fueling and moving down the road. More race day information can be found on page 10 about swim cutoffs and race day cutoffs. You can also see your timing chip will not be in your pocket. You must stop at the timing tables and ask the bike check-in areas to pick up your chip. At the timing table, you will verify that your name matches your number at athlete check-in, so you are not racing as someone else. Ironman Tracker app, that bottom portion on page 11, very, very important for anyone that's tracking you. Please download the app. It is pretty good. It's gotten very good in the last couple of years to determine where you are. So use that Athlete Tracker app, and they will have a very good idea of where you are and when you can be seen. Also, one last thing about that Ironman Tracker app, it is very, very key for you if you are chasing some of those slots to know if you have qualified or reached the top of that age group section in the app, because in there they usually list how many slots have been allocated, and if not, you can ask on one of the Facebook groups, and people are usually pretty good about knowing and posting that on race day. Relay info is on page 11. On page 12, you have that post-race info, things like the bike and gear checkout. Make sure that if you are not checking your bike out, that someone else from a family member or a trusted spectator is checking it out with that bike ticket that has been provided in the bag leading up to the race and in your athlete check-in process. Awards, lost and found, medical area volunteers can all be found there. Remember, the awards do start at 4 p.m. at the stage. Unclaimed awards will be held for 30 days, but if you do qualify, those qualifying slots will be reallocated to the next biggest age group. Very, very key phrasing that I just said there. Qualifying, if you want more specific details about that, that is on page 14 of your guide. Page 15 is starting the meat and potatoes of this course breakdown. Swim portion for this race is a 1-lap race, or 1-lap portion here, and you can see you will start at these docks over here and you will finish at a different location. So you will have to be aware of that on race morning. So you're probably going to want to be out of transition probably 15 or 20 minutes, maybe even a little bit more, before you are scheduled to take that starting line, just for you to allow yourself enough time to get out of that transition area and make your way down to that athlete start area. When you're there, you'll place yourself in self-supported corrals according to your guesstimated time or your theoretical race time. Be honest with yourself. If you are in an age group where you think you can kind of hold that, then go in there, But if you are in a corral where you say, okay, I am targeting a 40-minute swim, but I'm going to put myself in the 30-minute corral, it's probably not realistic. You're going to get bounced around, right? It is time trial start, so you will be released with a couple of swimmers at a time, right? So it's not really beneficial for you if you overshoot too much. If you overshoot by maybe one corral, or you're right on the bubble and you say, I'm going to go for it, that's fine. But if you're a solid middle of the corral athlete, I don't really suggest you going to the next one. If you're that middle of the pack in that corral, then I suggest you going to the front of that corral instead of just kind of sitting further back in that corral, because that will give you the best chances for success on your race swim right here. Once you are in the water, a couple of quick things to note about this race course is that on this swim start right here, very, very common for athletes not only to go out too far, or too fast, but also very, very common for athletes to get bounced around and really battle on this one until you get to about this third, maybe even fourth sighting buoy right here. And if you notice, that is about halfway ish on this swim. So if you do decide to do the common thing of show up and really fly on the first half of this swim, you're going to pay the price later on, especially on this really long straightaway. So a couple of strategies that you can utilize if you are in some clean water and you're comfortable swimming around some people: find some feet that will actively pull you along for this first section right here. Because there is almost a double turn right here, everyone's going to know that they theoretically should be at the front of a pack, right? If you really are in that pack environment coming up to this turn right here, sure, right, fine. The reality is most of us are not going to be in that pack mentality or formation leading up to here. Okay, you're going to be in a blob. People are going to be going all around everyone, and just really maintain through here. That's the biggest key, and I would even almost use this as a ramp up instead of starting out aggressive, right? Because it is that rolling start. There's no real need to do that here unless you have really mismanaged yourself in your corrals, and you'll notice probably after the first 100, 200 meters in that swim. So after you get out of that little fog area, or reassess the situation and say, okay, everyone is kind of pulling ahead of me. I need to get up to those feet up ahead of me, or if they're pulling away from me at an unrealistic pace, then that's the perfect time to start swimming your pace, the paces that you've been swimming leading up to this event. As you make this left-hand turn right here, there will be battles, there will be people fighting, and it will, honestly, it's going to last a couple of sighting buoys longer than you want it to. But the real successful athletes on this race course are going to be the ones that can take all this battling, just kind of put it aside, swim their race, maybe find one or two people that are kind of working together, and you slot in on that third spot and just allow them to pull you along here. The reasoning is, right, you're going to save a lot of effort, and if those swimmers that are just slightly faster than you are pulling you along, that's a free ride essentially in the water. You're going to save a ton of effort. It doesn't always work like that, so start swimming your pace, and if you see someone swimming just slightly faster than you, I would hop on those feet and not be ashamed to just sit there for a little while. Just know that if you are doing that, it's okay to go around them and every once in a while gauge and see, Is this really realistic? Are they slowing down? Should I be moving around them, finding another set of feet? Don't be afraid to jump those feet every couple of siding buoys. Sit on someone, sit on, jump, sit on someone, and jump again. This last turn buoy right here should not be viewed as one final chance to really motor back into the finish. Instead, that last turn buoy right up here, that should be gauged as kind of your shutdown area. So allow people to really blow by you if they are really, really worried about getting that super awesome swim split that is really coveted. Sarcasm right there, you know. Really kind of let those people go and allow your body to kind of recover, start kicking your feet. Do not increase your sighting leading up to the finish line if all possible, and just get yourself ready to swim and stand up and move for another couple of hours here. And honestly, that itself is the swim, wetsuit or not. On page 17, you can see some of the specific swim course rules and wetsuit rules. And then after that, we are going to get into the bike here, which has a couple of interesting features on it. The most important one is that it is a one-loop bike, which is becoming less and less common, believe it or not. Also, it is on this, by the way, this is where you're going to swim right in here. Okay, but this is a little unique out here, and they have labeled this, before we talk about real specifics, as a gain of 790 feet. I'm going to call not true on that, because if you go out and do some research here, you can see that even some of these modeled courses, which go a little bit longer, right, they have 73 feet of elevation gain over the course of the entire thing. So with that, I would treat this as a very, very flat swim. And if we head over to the Best Bike Split, one of my favorite ones, right? You can see here that the first half is high speed. And with that, your power is going to be a little bit lower because the wind is going to be pushing you out, usually or typically. I mean, if it's not, it's going to be a little different, and we'll talk about another situation, right? And once you start to make that turn at the bottom over here, you can see that orange line that I'm talking about right here. It's just speed. You can see there, a little over halfway, you can see that that speed drops dramatically right here. And that is because of the wind. You could see that at this point right here, we are, if my cursor will allow me, 23.6 miles an hour. And if my other cursor will allow me here, okay, let's hide this. We are at about 17 miles an hour. So you can see that this athlete right here is going to average about 19.7 miles per hour. But you can see on the way back, it's not going to be terribly awesome. Okay, that first half, you are really going to be open to making a lot of mistakes. What is typical is a lot of athletes really, really fly out there. They're going fast. They're feeling good. The effort's low. So they're saying, okay, if my target, like in this case, is that 180 watts, I'm going to push it to 200 watts because I know I can do that. That is the most common mistake out here, because after we make that turn, then it kicks up to about 15 watts higher, typically on your, in this case, on your race targets, on your race estimates. So you are going to be working harder because that wind is going to be coming over your left shoulder, and it's going to be a head/crosswind the whole way in. So I would just be aware that when you're going out, it's going to be viewed as an easier bike, but just know that when you make that turnaround, that's when the real work starts. So I would be very, very careful about pushing those extra 15, 30, 40 watts on the way out, because when you make that turn, you're going to have those higher numbers up for the remainder of the ride until you get into the last final little kick there, right up here where it's a little zigzaggy. Right, yep, that's where the wind is going to swirl a bit more, but for the most part, the effort level is still going to be pretty high throughout those places. Now, some things that you need to be doing is, on the way back, this is a perfect aero course. Get in that aero position, don't be afraid to get out, stretch your legs every once in a while, but when you're in that aero position, be in it. Okay, be in it. Every 5-10 minutes, stand up, get out, drink some water. Sure, absolutely. But when you're in that aero position, be there. Be ready to rock and roll. Watch your race targets, all right, for those power estimates. If the wind is shifty out there, not uncommon for you. to have a crosswind out on this course, but if it is a really, really bad crosswind day, then that's going to make your work a little bit harder for the pretty much the entire course, right? Because that's just the way the wind works here. You're just going to have one crosswind and you're going to shift it to another crosswind. Maybe a little bit of a tailwind, but that's, hopeful. So be very, very careful out there and manage your expectations. If it is that crosswind, this is going to go a little even, right? And that work is going to return pretty much the same throughout the day. Be aware of the wind, watch what it's doing, and don't forget about your fueling. On a flat course, very common for athletes to forget about fueling on race day. Also, be aware of how you're pedaling out on course. On those flat days, very, very common for athletes to punch that flat course. If you have not been training that, it's time to get on your trainer and start doing that a little bit. Punch in your pedal stroke. If you more of a masher, more of a heavy like diesel engine going up hills a lot, think about changing the way you pedal slightly now so you can just get kind of used to it out there. Very, very common for athletes to get a little more fatigued because of the different pedaling styles out there on race day. And coming back here, you can see where the aid stations are. You got 1, you got 2 at the bottom, and you got 3 coming back again, pretty much in that same spot there. After that, you zigzag back in, and you can see here that it is going to be a welcome zigzag. This area right through here is the most dangerous area on course from a route perspective, right? Maybe back on this finish line area, but speed should be slower on both instances anyways. Another area to watch out for is the turnaround down here. Make sure you're in an easier gear to start out, especially because you're going to be going from a tailwind to a headwind right away. Don't be shocked if it takes 1 or 2 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 miles to come out of that whole happy phase, easy phase, where your legs are just kind of cruising, you're going fast, and it's fun. And don't be really shy about shoving some calories in, especially on that tailwind section. Once you get back into that headwind section, you're going to have to keep it up as well, but your main focus is getting back into town there. Now you can see there that there is a full gas bike course. You can check it out, page 23. Some of the rules are on there, and they continue on page 24. Here we go. Page 30, believe it or not, is the run course. Run course is very, very interesting. It is a 3-loop run course. Yes, you heard me right. It is a 3-loop run course. When you look at the elevation profile, you can see here that it goes from 0 to 4. That's because you do this 3 times, and it is a busy, busy course. So you're not going to have any trouble finding another athlete to target on this race course because the targets will be everywhere. You have, I'm counting them, 3 turnarounds on this course. You also have a couple of loop-de-loops out here as well. You're essentially just running around a really, really tight area, and they've figured out how to map out that 13 miles here. Now, on this course right here, this is going to be a quad killer if you are not careful because of the amount of turnarounds, the tight turns, and just the overall terrain and navigation here. Very, very easy for you to get into those turns and explode out of those turns. If you're a skier or let's say a hockey player, anything with boots, right? Any sport there. You'll know that usually when you go in a turn, you kind of push off and you explode out of that turn. That is going to be a very, very natural thing for you to do and something that you need to shy away from, especially for those first 1 or 2 steps if you're not feeling great. If you're a really strong athlete, fine, but if you're kind of worried about cramping or anything like that, do not explode out of those corners. It's okay to build your speed up and get out of that corner, sure, but exploding out of that corner is going to be something else. For instance, right through here, there's going to be an area to pivot off that left foot and really push out of there. And same thing pretty much right away off the opposite foot off to the right, and then it goes left, and then right, left, and it just adds up over here. So I would avoid exploding out of those turns, those corners, and just being really careful of how you manage your effort for those first steps or 2. Think about how we just did it on the bike, where you shift into an easier gear, turn around, get up to speed, and then start to shift back down, right? Same thing on the run. When we talk about fueling out here, very, very busy course again. They have said that there is an aid station every mile on the run course, and you can see that is kind of true here. We have it before mile 1 right through here, where you have an aid station here, and then we pass through a longer section where there's where there's a mile 2 here, and then you do a zigzag, water station, and then you come back up here, mile 3, and you keep going, then mile 3.5, there's another aid station back through here, where you come up back through here, mile 4, and then mile, let's call it 4.5, is right through there, and then you repeat over and over and over again. Don't get discouraged when you're on that second or third lap. They do turn you right by the finish line, right through here. So just know that you have to do 3 laps before you can go in, otherwise you're going to get the big DQ. Now, if you are seeing an athlete finish in front of you when you are on your second or start of the third lap, do not let it get you down, okay? It's only 4 miles, so stay mentally strong. It's not going to be uncommon for you to be battling with someone and for them to peel off at that last second, for them to finish, or for you to finish and them to keep going, okay? Stay mentally sharp throughout this course here. It's going to be very, very busy, so make sure you're on your toes watching out for other athletes. They're going to be everywhere, especially on the third loop, so make sure you are calling out if you're passing or other things like that. I'm curious to see how it works on some of these sections where they have you running back and forth together. But again, just watch your paces, okay? If we go back down to elevation, it's not a super elevated course. There is some elevation associated with it, especially for that first half a mile, 0.75 of a mile. So just be careful coming out of that transition area each time, okay, and slowly build yourself back up. On these other cases where it dumps you down, again, if you're looking at that race profile, let's call this 25, 30 feet, and it's going back down to 5 feet right here. So again, it's not a crazy hill, but it is a bit of a hill. Watch where your feet are landing at all times. And again, have fun out there. Have fun. Go through your mental checklist if you are starting to cramp up or seize or do anything, and just be careful on race day. It's going to be a blast. I wish everyone the best of luck. If you have any questions, reach out. And if you are if you are a turnaround sports athlete, I will be reaching out to you individually to talk about race targets, and there are some super cool new things that we are doing this year.